The Burrows of Berea is a conversational podcast. We study the Bible and we talk about it.
Not all of us are of the same faith, and one of us doesn't actually have a faith.
And that's wonderful. We all love one another, and we're going to continue to talk about these things.
The things we believe in and the things we believe about what we read in the Bible. Not all of these are necessarily true. Some of it is opinion and speculation. Thank you for
listening and speculating with us.
There you go. That was good. Yes.
You are listening to the Burrows of Berea.
Welcome back to the Burrows of Berea. I am Rick Welch, and to my left is Billy Candy Kimsey.
Like a whatchamacallit bar, and you'll have to look up that slogan.
Some of us want, some of us remember it.
Oh, do you?
What is it?
The whatchamacallit?
Yeah. What's the
slogan?
It's a Rice Krispie treat with chocolate and caramel wrapped around it.
Do you know it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I got to hear it.
More than a mouthful.
I see where he went with that.
Fire. You're going to run out of candy.
We're all going to hell. We are going
There's
straight
candies all
to
over
hell.
the world, bro.
Hey, did somebody listen to Bill Evans?
Yeah. Yeah, and straight out of Compton, Ralph
Represent.
Hicks. To my right, Sarita the Rita Edgerton.
Hola.
And behind the glass, with his little putty tats, Rocket Man, Andy Bishop.
Meow.
Did you ever see Super Troopers?
I'm going to get that purr sound from the last
Oh,
episode.
yeah, that was funny.
Oh, anyway, yes.
Do you remember what he was like? License and registration, meow.
Oh, yeah, that was really funny.
That was.
Yes, meow.
Yeah.
Yes, meow.
And they did it in such a way that you're like, that you believe that, like, in the right context, you would just, like, kind of not notice. You know what I mean? It was really well
How
done.
many times can you meow before this guy picks up on it?
What's the other guy just ends up walking up to the car and yelling meow?
Yeah. Well, we are back for the Esther chapter 6. We do not have Cherry Lewis in the studio. Cherry is going to be going to Idaho. I believe, actually, while we're recording this, she's not, but she is going to Idaho again to the reservation to be with those kids. And so it's really awesome. She had a great time last year, and so she's going again this year. And actually, she's taking her grandchildren with her, which is going to be kind of cool. You know, I wouldn't want to fly with kids, but hey, that's all up to you. Anyway, but now this story...
I got to get my head into Esther here.
Yeah, get your head into Esther. This is, I'll give you, come on, Billy, you're killing me.
Yeah. It's also Sarita. You guys.
Yeah, you two are like children.
I didn't say anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Whatchamacallit bar.
So, yeah, so if you guys, you want me to give you a little recap to kind of get you back to where we were. Mordecai, of course, won't bow to Haman, and Haman gets super pissed. He creates that decree that says we're going to kill all the Jews, right? And then what happens is Esther, by seeing Mordecai wail in the streets, and he's so upset, and he's wearing sackcloth and ashes, you know, then she tries to get him to change his clothes, and then Esther wanted to get time with the king. It was something that she wanted Mordecai to fast for. They get to that point, and so in chapter 5, she actually gets time with the king and gets him to bring Haman to a feast. And then after he leaves, Haman is very happy, but he gets irritated when he sees Mordecai. And so he goes home and he tells his wife, you know, I've got all this awesome stuff and none of it matters, right? None of it matters because of Mordecai the Jew. Well, in chapter 5, if you guys remember, I've told you from the very beginning since the holiday kickoff that we have these acrostics that show up in this book. So YHVH, it's either forward or it's backward. And if you remember in chapter 1, verse 20, when Memucan's speaking and he's like, hey, the wives will respect us, you know, if you do this, King Haman, if you put Queen Vashti away, that's whenever a Gentile is speaking and it's in like the negative. And so that's whenever you see the acrostic in reverse. So then, and I said in the last episode, chapter 5, that there was another one that shows up in verse 4. And if you remember, it was Yabo, Hamelech, Haman, Hayam, let come the king and Haman this day. And what I didn't do was tell you there was another one in that chapter, in chapter 5. And there was a reason, because I really wanted you to see it for today, because this is where it gets really cool in this story. This is when you really see God showing up. So in that same chapter, chapter 5, verse 13, now we see it in reverse again. So when Esther speaks, it's forward. When Memucan speaks, it's backward. And this one, chapter 5, verse 13, it's Zeh Enyeb Shove Lai. This availeth nothing to me. That's whenever, what's his name, Haman, is saying, I don't care what I've got. I've got all these riches. I'm the second powerful man. I've got all these sons. And look, I'm even getting to go into this special feast with the king and Esther, and none of this matters to me. Right there where he says, this availeth nothing to me. That's when the next acrostic shows up.
This poor guy. And I don't mean I feel bad for him. I just mean, like, can you imagine being a person that's so wrapped up in one ancillary aspect of your life that it's ruining the rest of your life? Like, that's terrible.
It's Mordecai derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we didn't know Mordecai.
Right.
Maybe.
So that I just want everybody to understand 5 verse 13, that's where the third of the 4 acrostics shows up. And it's really these critical times, where these characters are saying things that are meaningful here. So what I'd like to do, if you guys remember in the last episode also that I had said that I felt like Haman probably went to bed, pretty well that night, because his wife was like, just kill Mordecai. And he's like, I like that idea. Let's build a gallows. And he just went to bed and slept like a baby, in my opinion, right? So if you don't mind, Rita, would you read Esther chapter 6, verse 1 through 3?
On that night, the king could not sleep, and he gave orders to bring the book of memorable deeds, the Chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written how Mordecai had told about Bigthana and Teresh, 2 of the king's eunuchs who guarded the threshold, and who sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. And the king said, what honor or distinction has been bestowed upon Mordecai for this? The king's young men who attended him said, nothing has been done for him.
Right. So just to sort of recap a little bit more at the end of 15, if you remember, okay, so Haman's going to have Mordecai killed. And so he knows that's what he's going to do. But the king, as they go to bed that night, the king can't sleep. He's having a hard time sleeping. He's got insomnia. And so
Which is weird because he's drunk.
Exactly. So that's another one, like in your mind, when these kind of things happen, you have to feel like God's behind it. He's got to be. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't just chance, man. There's so many. It also makes
you think when you can't sleep.
Yeah.
Like, what's weighing on your brain?
Yeah. I've been up since 1:30 this morning, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's guilty conscience. No, not at all. But just feeling, not being able to sleep and then saying, okay, get me the book of the Chronicles.
I'm gonna give me something dry.
And that's exactly what you would think. Like, he's trying to get bored. And I think you're right. He's probably just like, all right, please put me to sleep. Yeah. Would you get the phone book? Just read the phone book. But it just so happens that he turns to the page and he reads about what Mordecai had done. If you remember in chapter 2, Mordecai discovers the plot of these 2 eunuchs, Bigthana and Teresh. Bigthana. I know. Isn't that the name of the girl that's...
I like it when they call me Bigthana. Wait.
Yeah. Isn't that the name of the girl that's over in Russia right now? No, that's Brittany Griner.
That's Brittany, yeah.
Sorry.
Close.
That might be her prison name. Bigthana. She was just pled guilty, by the way.
She did.
Yeah.
Come over here, Bigthana. Anyway. Or isn't that the place, like, if you want to go, if you're a big guy and you want to go sit and sweat?
That's where Mike Tyson goes to sweat it out.
Sweats it out to the Big Thana.
He goes to the Big Thana.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mike
we all
Tyson,
do terrible Mike
did
Tyson.
you see where his new edibles came out?
Oh,
and
what?
I do not edibles.
Like weed edibles?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're in the shape of little tiny ears.
That's
I am
hilarious.
not
No
lying.
way.
That man.
I know we talked about it on the last episode or the one. whatever.
Yeah.
That man understands marketing.
He does, and it says it's go look it up. It's fantastic. That's genius.
Yeah.
Wow.
That man
He has
understands.
taken what people criticized him and made fun of him, and now what he's known for, and I'm going to make $1 billion with it selling pot.
Can you name the boxer that he chewed his ear off of?
Evander.
Holyfield.
Yeah, was Holyfield.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
Even
That's
I knew
crazy.
that, and I'm a girl.
I love it when you call me Big Thana.
You have to buy them because the holy ears.
That was a pretty good Tyson, actually.
Yeah,
That wasn't
that
bad.
was good.
I just did my workout, so I'm going to go do the Big Thana.
Yeah, that was good too.
So let's just do.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I got nothing. So what
You know
difference? What's
I'm
up?
sorry to interrupt.
No, it's all right.
You know something that's interesting? We just did a previous study and we were talking about who wrote this and how we can find out who they wrote this and then things that were added. One of the things that I found in one of my books said this book was written sometime after the death of Ahasuerus, but the writer's nationalism and familiarity with Persian history, customs, and vocabulary made it likely that the unknown author was a Jew living in Persia. And it says in the Greek version, Esther is placed among the historical books and has been lengthened by 6 additional passages containing 107 verses not found in the Hebrew text, and they added God and prayer. And we were talking earlier where God wasn't in it. Well,
Yeah, God's not in it.
Somebody decided to put him in.
How about that? I've never heard that. Very cool.
And for those of you that live in Asheville, it's him, her, it, we, you, they, or whatever.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So the king can't sleep. All right. So in Proverbs 4:14 through 17, it talks a little bit about sleep. Do you mind to read that one? Proverbs 4:14 through 17.
Do not enter the path of the wicked, and do not walk in the way of the evil. Avoid it. Do not go on it. Turn away from it and pass on. For they cannot sleep unless they have done wrong. They are robbed of sleep unless they have made someone stumble. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence.
Yeah. So I think this is the reason why, for both reasons, that I think why Haman probably slept because he was doing wrong and Ahasuerus couldn't because he wasn't yet. You know, it's just interesting to me. But if you want, we'll just count on the listener to go back to Esther chapter 2, verses 21 through 23. If you want to follow up, you can reread what happened. I will tell you that the Big Thana dude and Teresh, they were both hanged on the gallows, and Mordecai was hanging out at the king's gate when he discovered the plot, right? Well, that's where he's at in sackcloth and ashes now. So it's kind of interesting. So
Does he not have a job?
Who?
Mordecai. He's just hanging out at the
I
gate.
think he's one of the king's advisors. He hangs out at the gate, and that's who hung out. People just didn't hang out there.
I don't know. It doesn't talk about his occupation.
That is a really good question.
Yeah.
That's a great
Where
question.
did the
He
75
probably
feet
had like a
come
little
from?
Dippin' Dots right there. You know what I'm saying?
She was go big or go home.
No. They said they were hung from 75 feet. Where did that number come from?
Yeah, 75 feet. That's how many cubits the height of the gallows were. Yeah,
He wanted to know where that number came from.
75 feet.
Or the cubits, either one.
Oh yeah, so a cubit is 18 inches.
Yeah,
And
I just
so
went
50
back. I just went back after I read this. I went back. I'm looking. I didn't find that, so that's why I was asking about
So
it.
it's 50 cubits, and the cubit is 18 inches. So 50 times 18 is 900. Divided by 12 is 75 feet. That's how we got it. How about that quick ancient math, huh?
Look at you.
That's what I'm talking about. But
Next time we need
Somebody
a guy to
didn't sleep.
convert.
He is an engineer, by the way.
actually, Mordecai probably ran the Big Thana. Call back. All right. So now let's read a little bit more of Esther. So where we are, the king is sitting there and he looks at the servant. And he's like, all right, so Mordecai saved my life. What did we do? Like, what did we do for Mordecai? So chapter 6, verse 4 through 5, Sarita.
And the king said, "Who is in the court?" Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the king's palace to speak to the king about having Mordecai hanged on the gallows that he had prepared for him. And the king's young men told him, "Haman is there, standing in the court." And the king said, "Let him come in."
So do you guys remember in the last one, we were like, so how is Haman allowed to just hang Mordecai? And we were like, oh, probably because he's powerful or because, whatever. He's there early in the morning to get this done. He has to see the king to get permission to kill him.
And you can almost see it, like he's just bebopping in. He's so excited. He slept good, man. I'm gonna
But
kill
he's
this dude.
hungover.
Yeah, a little hungover,
Yeah, a little
maybe.
hungover, but you know,
Little hair
I
of the
get to
dog.
kill somebody.
Yeah,
I get
I
rid
mean,
of
he
this
slept
dude.
with Misery all night. Remember that was her name.
Misery loves company.
So yeah, but you're right. He's probably coming in there. He's got his head high, like he's
I'm
the
early. I'm gonna get this done. Yeah,
we're gonna hammer
man,
down something.
Yeah,
I gotta
and
get
then
that
I got a
dude
big
killed.
feast going on tonight with the queen. Man,
what
it's it's party time.
You ain't
That's
gonna
exactly
be sleeping
right.
tonight though.
Yeah.
So the king asks, like, who's here? And it's Haman. Of course, Haman's there. And he's like, let him come in, right? So if you wouldn't mind, would you read chapter 6, verse 6 through 9?
So Haman came in, and the king said to him, "What should be done to the man whom the king delights to honor?" And Haman said to himself, "Whom would the king delight to honor more than me?" He's so arrogant. And Haman said to the king, that wasn't in the Bible, by the way, "For the man whom the king delights to honor, let royal robes be brought, which the king has worn, and the horse which the king has ridden, and on whose head a royal crown is set. And let the robes and the horse be handed over to one of the king's most noble officials. Let them dress the man whom the king delights to honor, and let them lead him on the horse through the square of the city, proclaiming before him, 'Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delights to honor.'"
So Haman's coming in with a purpose, right? He wants to kill Mordecai. That's the whole plan. He's thinking, I'm going to go in here and tell the king what's up. The king's going to be like, here's the signet ring, boom, kill him, whatever, do your thing. And so when he walks in, the king's like, so tell me, Haman, what would you do for a man that the king wants to honor? And immediately Haman's assuming it's himself, right? And what do they say about assume? It makes a donkey out of you and me. That's exactly right. And that's exactly what he does, right? What do you think?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
isn't this awesome?
Yeah.
Like, I love it because he's telling the king that, oh yeah, if you're going to honor him, this is what I would do.
Yeah.
But here's the cool part. One of the things I was thinking about when I was reading this, and I don't know if you noticed this in the notes or not, Sarita, but he really tells on himself, doesn't he? Like when you're the second most powerful man in the empire, underneath the king only, and the king says, if I was going to delight somebody, what would you do? And he says, put him on the king's horse, give him the king's robes, put the king's crown on him, let an official noble walk him around and say, this is who the king wants to honor. Well, he's really letting himself know who he wants to be. And I think, in my opinion, this is just opinion and speculation, I think if Haman gets half the chance, that the king is dead. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like coup d'etat, like he's taken over. But here's the thing. I don't know how it works in Persia. I don't know how it works, but it seems like those who are in power are the ones who are able to rule. And so, in my opinion, also, this is just opinion, guys, I think it's interesting that there was already a plot on King Ahasuerus' life in this story. Because
as you were walking us into this, yes, I had the same thought.
Yeah, very good. Because that anger that those two men had, what was it? Vashti was being deposed. So that was probably their power. That was probably their in was through Vashti, most likely with those eunuchs. I don't know. It's Game of Thronesy, baby. That's what's going on.
And now, I don't know that Sarita's right, but go back to Sarita's comment about why was he hanging around, who hangs around the gate.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden it looks like an actual power struggle.
Yep.
Not that I'm not sure that Sarita's right because of all the wailing and et cetera and et cetera. If he was such a public figure, if he was in fact any advisor that was anywhere near the king or could get anywhere near the king, you think the king would be aware of him and his wailing already. So I'm not sure he could be close in any way, shape, or form. But it does possibly take on a more interesting light.
I think that, well, to get back to your question, what you said about does he have a job, Billy? Mordecai, if you remember, he hung out at the gate because he was always watching to try to find out what's going on with Esther. Now that Esther's queen, Mordecai's taken care of because he's family. And so he doesn't really need a job. The queen of the empire is his niece,
Yeah, fair enough.
So he probably just sitting around, hanging around. But it's good that he was because he was there. He heard the plot.
Did the king know that?
The king found out about the plot in the Chronicles while he was awake at night. That's what he read
No,
to
he
him.
does not know
No,
that Esther and
yeah,
Mordecai
yeah.
are related.
No, no, no.
yet.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, that
Okay,
part.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
He getting ready to find out.
Do
right
what?
now. He getting ready to find out right now.
Getting ready to find out.
Well, in a little bit.
So, in my opinion, Haman's really showing his true character. The king's not, he's too daft. He's not picking up on it. He's just not, because he's an oaf,
Yeah.
His drinking buddy. But Haman's really saying, all right, if you want to honor this guy, make him just like the king, because what he in fact is asking is what they do for a king after they win a battle and bring him into the city. And this is at Susa, the Citadel. This is the capital where the king's palace is.
It seems like a lot.
It's a lot for this dude, and that's what he really wants. So let's see what happens next.
He sure gets a job when this is over.
Yeah, verse 10 and 11.
Then the king said to Haman, "Hurry, take the robes and the horse, as you have said, and do so to Mordecai the Jew,
I love it.
who sits at the king's gate." By the way, it's not that he didn't know where he was. He did, going back to what Andy was just saying, the king knew who was at the gate. He knew Mordecai the Jew was at the gate. He didn't have to ask,
He
hey,
just
has
didn't
anybody
care.
seen Mordecai lately? Anybody? Mordecai?
Right.
Oh, so
He
he,
knew
did right
exactly
there.
where
Yeah.
he was.
Sure.
Who
He was
sits
right
at
there
the
in front of the
king's
palace, yeah.
gate. Because I think he worked for the government.
I don't know, maybe.
Maybe he was the Jewish liaison.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, you don't go from nobody to prime minister if you don't have something.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets
That's true.
he gets the top job.
I mean, he's got the
But
queen.
you can go from prime minister
Queen's
to
his niece.
nobody, as we saw today.
Boris Johnson, UK.
Yeehaw, with just a
you
Or
ever
crush.
they
that?
just hurl
I
him
did.
out?
He resigned.
He resigned.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
They put a cat in his place.
Nice.
Sorry. The mental picture of this is so delicious.
I love it. I know. I love this. Like, eat it up.
Then
Eat
the
it up.
king said to Haman, "Hurry, take the robes and the horse, as you have said, and do so to Mordecai the Jew who sits at the king's gate. Leave out nothing that you have mentioned." So Haman took the robes and the horse, and he dressed Mordecai and led him through the square of the city, proclaiming before him, "Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delights to honor."
Talk about lessons. People say this, that, and the other about the Bible, but there are lessons everywhere, and you can learn about putting yourself forward and being put all the way back. So take lessons from every little thing that you can, and here's a big lesson, especially to teach your kids about what can happen when you put yourself above.
Do you know what I love? This is so awesome. This is the first time that the king says Mordecai the Jew. If you notice earlier on in chapter 2, Mordecai saves him. It doesn't say anything about being the Jew. Whenever they read the Chronicles about him, the Chronicles don't say Mordecai the Jew. But when he speaks to Haman, he says, "Go to Mordecai the Jew." Is that a little telling? Did you notice that before?
And
I
he
didn't put
knows,
it in the notes.
and he knows where she came from, because she came. He knew that she was with Mordecai, so he would have, based on that, would have had to know that she was Jewish
I don't
then
think
too.
he did. They kept that a secret.
They kept their relationship secret. That's why they did. That's why
We
the
assume
king's
that.
eunuch.
Well,
the
we
king's
do
eunuchs-
because as Sarita said earlier, the king knew Mordecai was there. I think the king knew a lot more than people
He's not
thought.
the big dumb oaf we think he is.
No. Kings don't last that long.
If they're big,
If
dumb,
they're
loafers,
dumb.
Sure.
Yeah,
Especially in that era.
that's
Absolutely.
true. Yeah, great point.
Yep. It's a good point.
So, do you think he understands the Game of Thronesy play that's going on with Haman and Mordecai? Now, Haman has already asked for the permission to execute Mordecai and his people, but now he's making Haman honor Mordecai the Jew.
The Jew.
I mean, it's bizarre. Like,
Yeah.
and I didn't really think of it until just now, but that is bizarre. The king knew exactly what he was doing.
Did the king know the decree? Because he didn't send it. Haman did with the signet ring of the king.
And he just said the people don't worship you. They worship other gods. He didn't say what. Did he ever say what people?
Maybe.
I don't remember.
But anyway, yeah, we're really getting deep in here. But he says Mordecai the Jew. Like, that's the first time you hear it. And then, so the king knows that he's one of those people most likely that are going to be killed, I guess.
Okay, so I know, or I think I know, that most of you were not a woman. Maybe all of you are not a woman. I don't know.
You are accurate.
I have been angry.
My name
And
is
I've
Kaylee
had-
Hicks.
I have had to do things in my anger that I did not want to do. And so, thus, slamming doors, driving fast. So, can you imagine the anger with which Haman was put the crown on his dadgum head? I'm going to put the robe around him. I'm going to lead the stupid horse around in a square. And I'm going to say, thus it shall be done to the man whom the king delights to honor.
Oh, he's mad.
He's ticked.
I'm sure. Yeah.
He's ticked.
Saying
So
it through clenched teeth.
like I've had to do things I didn't want to do because I have been humbled to a point and I'm angry about it. And I mean, so I can just see Haman seething and that just
Yeah.
and then he's leading the horse. Get on the horse, Mordecai. Come on, let's get this over with. I'm gonna hang you in a minute. So you just enjoy this right now.
If he'd have
Mumbling
been
under-
smart enough, he would have kept his anger in check and might have realized I need to go to the king and back this up so I live.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's realized that he's probably not going to get to hang this dude now.
I think he knows very well because of the way he
probably.
dresses.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably all
We're
jacked
getting
up.
it. Absolutely.
Hey, Misery, go take that thing down. Misery.
Yeah,
Misery.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's move on. So that Matthew 23:12, something that Jesus says, whoever exalts himself will be humbled and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. And this, guys, that's what this looks like. Whoever tries to exalt himself will be humbled. In this case, absolutely. So now I want you to imagine, guys, the end of this. He's already paraded Mordecai around. He's given him everything that he wanted. And this is the guy that he hates and loathes and wants to kill. And just last night, he was building the gallows, right? So now you get to the end of the parade. He's got to take Mordecai off the horse. He's got to get those royal robes off. What do you think's underneath those royal robes?
The sackcloth and
Sackcloth.
ashes.
Yeah. And so it's time to go back to where we started. That's where we're like, the day is done. And so where do we think that Mordecai went? What do you think Haman's going to do? So if you would read verse 12 through 14, we're going to learn what they do.
Then Mordecai returned to the king's gate, but Haman hurried to his house, mourning and with his head covered. And Haman told his wife Zeresh and all his friends everything that had happened to him. Then his wise men and his wife Zeresh said to him, if Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of the Jewish people, you will not overcome him, but will surely fall before him. While they were yet talking with him, the king's eunuchs arrived and hurried to bring Haman to the feast that Esther had prepared.
So right after this big pomp and circumstance where Mordecai's paraded around by the enemy of the Jew, he goes back to where he started. And the reason I believe that is because, number one, the decree hasn't changed and Esther hasn't changed her command. So he's still in wailing. I don't even know if he knows why, because even though he said, this is what the king wants to do to honor you, it's not like they told him why. I mean, I guess they could say because you saved the king's life, but it doesn't really say. So it's all just speculative at best. We don't know if he even knows, but we do know that he's not done. He has to go back to the gate, back in sackcloth and ashes, just like he was. That's where he's going. But look at the difference in Haman. He's mourning and he puts a head covering on.
Shame.
I know. Shame.
Second man in power.
Yes. And so then he heads back to this house to go to Zeresh and the friends.
What'd the king say? What'd the king say? What'd the king say?
How'd it go, bro? You going to be hanging some dude? Nope. And so he tells them, yeah, I had to do all this stuff with Mordecai today. And so they're like, hey, but this is another little clue. Listen to what they say to him, right? Listen real close. If Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of the Jewish people, you will not overcome him. Now notice the king said Mordecai the Jew, and they're recognizing, wait, so if Mordecai's of the Jewish people, he knows he's a Jew, right? The king knows he's a Jew. So you will not overcome him, but will surely fall before him. What a drastic change of events, huh? And so what I had thought of was while he's sitting there talking to his wife, you remember just a few short hours before, he's telling them, oh, this really sucks. And the wife's like, hey, build a gallows. Things are cool. Like Andy said, get out the engineering specs, build this gallows. And he's like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that. Then it's just, what is it? Just a few hours later, I imagine that he hears the sound of the gallows being built. Yep. Just the hammering of the nails.
Right. He's got a work order.
He's
Some people have started hauling lumber.
Amazon has delivered all his order.
Yeah.
Or Home Depot.
So his whole,
sawmill.
What I don't understand
Billy.
is that this all didn't take place right away because it was some time before all of that took place.
What are you talking about?
Where they had that big battle. So why didn't he at some point try to redo all of this stuff and backtrack before he got hung?
You're ahead. Like you're ahead of where we are. I don't know.
Oh, but the
we
hanging.
haven't even got there yet.
I know, but I'm just curious as to
He can't undo the order, remember?
why
he can't undo the decree, and he is forced to come to the banquet that Esther has prepared. So
Like
all
he
of
can't
these
even
things,
answer Zeresh. He has to go.
Yeah, exactly. Because when they're like, oh, because of the Jewish people, then you're probably going to be, you're going to get whacked. And he's like talking over all these loud pow, pow. They got their nail guns going on, the crane. They're trying to lift the gallows. And he's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden the eunuchs show up and they're like, hey, man, Esther's ready.
You told you to tell your wife, hey, tell her to take that thing down.
Hey, guy. What's up?
Hey,
ready.
man.
Yes, Queen.
Yeah. So
She's
what a difference a night can make, huh? Yeah,
pride goeth before a fall.
that's true.
So is this the original 80s ski movie?
Yes. It sure is.
Feels a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this chapter. And now, next, chapter 7, it just keeps amping up. I love it.
I mean, do you know a soap opera that's any better than this?
Only on Telemundo.
Oh, Telemundo.
Mi
¿Cómo
corazón.
está, Esther?
Mi corazón es muy... Marisa. Oh, mi corazón. Sorry, I suck at this.
Está rompió.
What did you say?
Está rompió. It's broken.
Mi corazón está rompio.
Rompió.
Rompio. Got to roll your R's. My name is Ricky. I've got ridges.
You're Ricardo.
Yeah.
And
All right.
Sarita.
My heart is broken.
Can't do it.
No.
Bad.
All right. So
I'm
I've got a
not gonna try
Jew joke, but it's not a racist one.
Thank God. If you had not said that,
Yeah.
A racist would say.
Now it is.
Amen.
So there is this Jewish couple, Mort and Esther. Okay. And every year they go to the state fair. They love it. Okay. And every year when they go, Mort always tells Esther, I'd really like to take a ride in that helicopter that goes over the fair. And Esther always responds, Mort, the helicopter ride is $50 and $50 is $50. So this next, this goes on for years and years. And finally they're at the fair and they're really old. And Mort says, Esther, I'm 85 years old. And if I don't ride that helicopter, I may not make it next year. And Esther says, look, it's $50 and $50 is $50. So the pilot that's sitting there knows these guys. He's been running this ride for years. And so he looks at him. He's like, you guys are ridiculous, over $50. I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I'll take you both for the ride. And if you can stay quiet during the entire ride, you will not have to pay a penny. All right. But if you say one word, $50. So they look at each other and are like, you don't really know us, do you? Like, we know how to make sure, So they agreed and the pilot takes them up. And you want to talk about like Top Gun Maverick, some aerial maneuvers going on. He is hammering down and he does all these, all these fancy maneuvers, but the whole time he's like, they're not saying anything. You know what I mean? And so after all his daredevil tricks are done and they finally land, the pilot looks at Mort and he's like, I tell you what, I did everything I could to try to get you to say a word or to yell or something, but you didn't. I'm really impressed. And Mort says, well, I'll be honest with you. I was going to say something when Esther fell out, but $50 is $50.
Did not see that turn.
Did you not?
No, I didn't see that one. I like that one.
I like that. See, it wasn't racist. See?
A racist would say.
Yeah.
It's racist.
Not racist till you said that. So,
Well, I'm super excited about chapter 7, guys. I can't wait. This just gets better and better and better. So,
it's just the dragon. The dragon comes out.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
I don't know if it were me, and he said, go put the robes on him. I'm like, take down that scaffold and somebody go find that piece of paper and get me a horse because I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. Yeah. I'll take a donkey.
Zaresh made me do it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks, Billy, Ralph, Sarita, Andy. Thanks for being here. And I got some exciting news coming up, guys. Andy and I, the Burrows, are actually going to be traveling to Virginia Beach. We have got a round table that we're doing with several men.
That's exciting.
It is. Pastor David Curtis, that is at Berean Bible Church, is hosting it at the church for us on our behalf. Inviting the Burrows there, and we're going to be doing testimonies with him and his wife, and with Jeffrey McCormick and Bob Cruikshank. I just spoke to Michael Sullivan, and he sent us some books, guys. He wrote this book called House Divided, which was really awesome. It's about the millennial reign in regard to preterism. He's bringing him down. I'm actually meeting him. He's driving from Knoxville to come meet me on Sunday. And then, but yeah, we're trying to get everybody up there so that we can do this roundtable and also have all those testimonies. It's going to be an exciting summer. I'm very excited, honestly. And then I just found out that Gary DeMar will be in studio September the 1st.
Oh, cool.
So that's super cool. And then there's a couple other guys. I'm not going to mention them yet, but we got a couple other guys coming. And I did send a message to Madison Cawthorn, so let's see how that works out. No. He's going to be in your house.
I don't want it. No, I don't want it.
I know, Maddie.
How about AOC? I know he came to my shop. He was actually a pretty nice guy before he got all, crazy. He wasn't that crazy before.
He was a kid when I knew him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I knew him whenever he was running. He came to the shop, but
like
he was a nice
physically
kid.
running or running for office.
Oh, Lord.
Oh.
Love you, Maddie.
There is nothing better than making fun of, people in wheelchairs. We apologize unreservedly.
Oh, I like those signs.
Anyway, well, guys, thanks for listening. We will talk to you next time on the Burrows of Berea. See ya. Hey, guys, this is Rick from the Burrows of Berea. Do you know how much blood, sweat, and tears it takes to make a podcast? None. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't cost a lot. And so if you guys don't mind, if anybody would like to give to help us with these episodes, it would be great. We'll put out even more content. And if you go to our Patreon page, just search for the Burrows of Berea, you'll get extra notes, extra episodes, and it's pretty much free. $1 gets you a lot. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Could be the monkey. Shock the monkey.
Are you a believer?
I'm going to put the kid in here with you.
Yeah.
So cute. Except
That's so funny.
Big, super meaty.
he's right. He's going to come back after 10 days, and that cat's going to be full grown.
Yeah.
He can't hear that. Poor guy.
He doesn't have his earphones on. No, he does. Wait, quit talking about him.
I know. You can hear the cat playing. over
You
there.
know that I have it on tape, right?
Yeah, it's like
We're talking about how you were going to go
Bang,
for 10
sang
days,
out line.
and that cat is going to be like a full-grown cat when
I
you
am
get
so
back.
sad about that.
I know.
I am legitimately bummed. If
Yeah.
there was a way,
Where'd you get that cat from?
a bush.
A burning bush?
No, thank God.
Oh, you went George. I went burning.
George Bush.
Yeah, if it was a burning bush, this would be a different story. It'd be much less cute. No, we were walking our 3 dogs and our foster, who's officially been adopted, who's going home Saturday. So
Oh,
we'll
wow.
be back down to
No.
3 dogs, only 3 dogs, and 1,000 cats.
You're going to be back to 3 dog night.
Yeah, 3 dog night.
Awesome.
Ba-dum-bum.
So, yeah, and we were walking 4 dogs, and from a bush on the side of the road, there was a screaming. And
No way.
Yeah, I heard it, and I was like, "Oh God, that's a kitten." And my wife was like, "Oh yes, it is." And then she reached in and grabbed it out, and here he is.
I know.
he's
And
a
you know what's
sweetie.
funny is like I am deathly allergic to cats, but that cat doesn't bother me for some reason. Maybe I'm not allergic anymore.
Well, he doesn't really go in the back room, so maybe that's got a lot to do with it.
Maybe
I run
that's
an
why.
air filter in the front room
Yeah.
24/7.
But normally, like if I see a cat, my nose and
Really?
my throat start to freak out.
Well, that's good
But
to
I
know.
feel nothing.
Huh.
Like I have no
Maybe
emotion.
he's like
I could
one
kill
of those
that cat and never feel a thing.
Maybe he's one of those hypoallergenic breeds or something.
Yeah, he's a bush cat. He's okay.
He's a bush cat.
Does that make him Australian?
Yeah. In the bush.
In the bush.
All right.